It's 3 a.m. The house is silent, it's pitch black, and for some reason, your eyes just snapped open. You're wide awake. You look at the clock, and you feel that sinking dread in your stomach because you know exactly what's coming next. You're going to lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that email you didn't send, or worrying about whether you'll be tired tomorrow, which, ironically, is exactly what keeps you awake. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know two things right off the bat. First, you are not broken, and second, you are not alone. This specific phenomenon, waking up between 3 and 4 a.m., is one of the most common sleep complaints I hear. It's so common, in fact, that it has a biological name and a historical precedent. In this video, we are going to get to the bottom of the 3 a.m. wake-up. I'm going to explain exactly what is happening in your body at that specific hour, why it might actually be a relic of human history, and most importantly, I'm going to give you a specific science-backed protocol to stop it from happening, and, if it does happen, how to fall back asleep in under 5 minutes. Let's dive in. To fix this, we first have to understand the mechanism. Why 3 a.m.? Why not 1 a.m. or 5 a.m.? The answer lies in the architecture of your sleep. You see, sleep isn't one long, continuous block of unconsciousness. It happens in cycles, usually lasting about 90 minutes. When you first fall asleep, you drop into deep, restorative sleep. This is the coma-like sleep where your body repairs tissues and cleans out the brain. If a bomb went off next to you during the first 3 hours of the night, you might not even hear it. But around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m., you've typically finished 2 or 3 of these 90-minute cycles. At this point, your body naturally shifts. You spend less time in deep sleep and more time in REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and light sleep. Between these cycles, there is a micro-awakening. Biologically, everyone wakes up a little bit between cycles. A good sleeper rolls over, checks the pillow, and falls back under within 10 seconds. They don't even remember it in the morning. But for you, something is hijacking that micro-awakening and turning it into a full-blown wake-up event. You hit that shallow point in your sleep cycle, and instead of diving back down, your brain latches onto a signal and pulls you all the way to the surface. So what are those signals? What is dragging you out of sleep? There are 3 main culprits, and usually it's a combination of them. Culprit number 1 is cortisol and blood sugar. This is the big one. Your body runs on fuel even when you're sleeping. Your brain is incredibly active at night. If you ate dinner at 7 p.m. by 3 a.m., you've been fasting for 8 hours. For many people, blood sugar levels drop too low during this window. This is called nocturnal hypoglycemia. When your brain senses that your fuel is running low, it views that as an emergency. It thinks, we are starving, we need energy now. So it sends a signal to your adrenal glands to release cortisol and adrenaline. Why? Because these stress hormones tell the liver to dump stored glucose into the bloodstream to raise your blood sugar. But think about what cortisol and adrenaline are. They are alertness hormones. They are fight-or-flight hormones. So your body literally doses you with a shot of adrenaline to keep your brain fueled. The result? You wake up. And you don't just wake up groggy, you wake up alert. You might feel your heart racing a little bit. You might feel a sudden wave of anxiety. That's not because you're anxious about life. It's a chemical reaction to the adrenaline spike your body just used to save you from low blood sugar. Culprit number 2 is the liver. Now, I want to bridge 2 worlds here, Western biology and traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM. In Western medicine, your liver is your primary detoxification organ. It's working hard at night to process everything you put in your body during the day: caffeine, alcohol, medications, and inflammatory foods. In traditional Chinese medicine, they use something called the organ-body clock. According to this ancient framework, every organ has a 2-hour window where it is most active and doing its deepest repair work. The time for the liver? You guessed it, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. If your liver is overburdened, Maybe you had a couple of glasses of wine with dinner, or you're dealing with high levels of inflammation. It struggles to complete its cycle. In TCM theory, this stagnation creates heat or energy that wakes the body up. Even if you don't subscribe to TCM, the biological overlap is fascinating. Your liver metabolism requires massive amounts of energy, glycogen. If your liver is working overtime to process a late meal or alcohol, it demands more fuel, which circles us right back to that blood sugar crash I just mentioned. Culprit number 3 is historical anxiety. This one might make you feel better about the whole situation. Historians like Roger Ekirch have found substantial evidence that humans didn't always sleep in one 8-hour block. Before the Industrial Revolution and electric lighting, it was very common for people to sleep in 2 shifts. They called it first sleep and second sleep. People would go to bed around 9 p.m., sleep until maybe 2 or 3 a.m., and then wake up. For an hour or so, they would stay awake. They would pray, write in journals, tend to the fire, or just relax. Then they would get sleepy again and go back for their second sleep until morning. The problem today is that when you wake up at 3 a.m., you don't think, "Oh, this is my natural break." You think, "Oh no, I have to be up for work in 4 hours, I'm going to be exhausted." You start doing math in your head. If I fall asleep now, I get 3 hours. If I fall asleep in 20 minutes, I get 2 hours and 40 minutes. This psychological pressure creates a secondary spike of cortisol. So now, you have the biological wake-up, followed immediately by the psychological stress of being awake. That combination is what makes it impossible to fall back asleep. Okay, so we know the physiology, we know the history, but you are watching this because you want it to stop. I'm going to break this down into 2 protocols. Protocol A is prevention, what you do during the day to stop the wake-up from happening. Protocol B is emergency damage control, what you do at 3 a.m. when you are already awake and staring at the ceiling. Let's start with prevention. The most effective way to stop the 3 a.m. wake-up is to stabilize your blood sugar before you even close your eyes. If you are prone to waking up, you need to look at your last meal. If you eat a dinner that is high in simple carbs, like pasta, white rice, or sugary desserts, you are going to have a big blood sugar spike, followed by a big crash right around 3 a.m. For the next 3 days, I want you to try the sleep snack. I know we're often told not to eat before bed, and generally, that's good advice for digestion. But if you are waking up from a glucose crash, a small, targeted snack 30 minutes before bed can be a game changer. You want something that is a small amount of fat and protein with 0 sugar. My favorite recommendation is a spoonful of almond butter, or a small piece of cheese, or a handful of walnuts. The fat acts like a slow-burning log on the fire. It stabilizes your blood glucose through the night so your brain never hits that panic button that triggers the adrenaline spike. Prevention step number 2 is morning light. Your sleep cycle doesn't start at night, it starts the moment you wake up. When you wake up tomorrow morning, get outside. Get sunlight in your eyes for 10 minutes. This sets your circadian rhythm. It creates a cortisol peak in the morning, which is when you want it, so that it drops off appropriately at night. If you miss this morning signal, your cortisol rhythm drifts, and it can start spiking in the middle of the night instead. Now, let's talk about the hard part. Protocol B. It's 3:30 a.m. You've done the prevention, but you still woke up. You are wide awake. Your mind is racing. What do? The absolute worst thing you can do is lie there and fight it. Fighting wakefulness creates anxiety, which creates adrenaline, which wakes you up more. I'm going to teach you 3 specific techniques to hack your nervous system and trick your brain back into sleep mode. Technique number 1, the physiological sigh. This is a tool popularized by neurobiologists like Dr. Andrew Huberman. It is the fastest way to offload carbon dioxide and lower your heart rate. Here is how you do it. You take a deep inhale through your nose. Then, at the very top of that inhale, you take a second, shorter inhale through the nose. Pop the lungs open. Then you exhale long and slow through your mouth. So it's inhale, inhale again, long exhale. Do this just 3 times. What this does is manually flip a switch in your nervous system from sympathetic, fight or flight, to parasympathetic, rest and digest. It physically slows your heart rate down. It is much more effective than just deep breathing because that double inhale pops open the air sacs in your lungs, allowing you to offload more stress chemicals when you exhale. Technique number 2, cognitive shuffling. If your problem is that your brain won't shut up, if you are thinking about work, bills, or that awkward thing you said 5 years ago, you need to use cognitive shuffling. This is a technique designed to scramble your brain's alertness pattern. When you are awake, your brain thinks in logical, linear loops. I need to do X, then Y will happen. When you are falling asleep, your brain thinks in fragmented random images. Cognitive shuffling mimics that sleep state. Here is how you do it. Pick a letter, let's say B. Now visualize a word that starts with B. Ball. Visualize a ball for a few seconds. Now another word. Baby. Visualize a baby. Bus. Banana. Bear. Keep going until you run out of B words. Then pick C. Cat. Car. Cloud. The key is, you have to visualize the object. This is difficult for your brain to do while holding on to a stressful thought. It forces your brain to disengage from the worry loop and enter a random association mode. This signals to your brain that it's safe to fall asleep. It is incredibly boring, and that is why it works. Most people don't make it past the second letter. Technique number 3, non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. If you have been lying there for 20 minutes and you are getting frustrated, stop trying to sleep. This is where we use paradoxical intention. The effort to sleep is what pushes sleep away. Instead, tell yourself, I am just going to rest. I don't need to sleep. I am just going to let my body enjoy the feeling of the mattress. If you can, put on a guided audio for non-sleep deep rest or yoga nidra. These are scripts designed to keep your body completely still while keeping your mind hovering on the border of sleep. The science shows that 20 minutes of NSDR can mimic the restorative effects of sleep. By taking the pressure off the goal of sleeping, you usually accidentally fall asleep. So here is your summary plan. Tonight, 30 minutes before bed, have a small snack with healthy fats, like a spoonful of almond butter. This protects you from the blood sugar crash. Make sure you slept in a cool room. Heat is another major trigger for waking up. If you do wake up at 3 a.m., do not check your phone. Do not check the time. Immediately do 3 rounds of the physiological sigh, double inhale, long exhale. Then start cognitive shuffling. Pick a letter and start visualizing. And remember, if you are awake, you are safe. It's just biology. Your body is doing what it thinks it needs to do to keep you alive. Be patient with it. If you found this helpful, I have a challenge for you. Try the sleep snack for just 3 nights in a row, just 3 nights, and come back to the comments and let me know if your 3 a.m. wake-up disappeared. I think you'll be surprised by how effective it is. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next video.